Man, Steve-O, what's the word?
What's good? What's good?
Hey, Chicago Bears took care of business yesterday, although it was very stressful. They got the W in Caleb Williams' debut. Chicago Sky have won two straight games after losing seven straight. Chicago Cubs have lost two straight series, but they did pick up a win versus the Yankees. And the Chicago Bulls have made a couple of roster moves. We got a lot to cover, but of course, we'll get into it right after the intro. All right, what's the word, Chicago sports fans? Welcome to another episode of Shot Town Sports Central. It's your boy Big Broski. We got Evo in the building, and we gonna lead it off with what everybody want to hear about, bro. The Chicago Bears take care of business at home, 24-17 victory over the Tennessee Titans after falling behind 17-0. They won off 24 straight unanswered points, and honestly, this is just all about the defense. How you feeling, man? Caleb Williams made his debut. Roma Dunze made his debut. Got a new defensive coordinator and a couple of other pieces that have been added with DeAndre Swift and so on and so forth. And actually, the people that was added in Taylor got a couple of sacks. How we feeling about this first win for the Chicago Bears?
It confirmed almost everything we had in terms of the good things that we expected from this team, and some of the things we weren't so sure about. Also, it kind of confirmed a lot of things. Coming in, we knew the defense was going to be good, and like I predicted, I feel like all levels was going to be affecting key of why we won the game. The D line ended up getting 3 sacks, 3 to 4 sacks. I forget what we finished with, but it's around that. Like you said, Tweller, who was a late acquisition, was a guy that didn't play with any time with us during the preseason. He spent most of his time in the preseason with Seattle. So he had a hell of a game within himself. 2 sacks, like 7 tackles, a sack for a fumble. Linebackers did their thing. TJ multiple tackles, Terrain multiple tackles, Tremaine almost splitting Will Levis in half. And then our corners did what they did. Jalen was out there hawking motherfuckers down, playing like a madman, ended getting the game sealing pick. Tyreek got the first pick of the game with a stupid, real stupid pass by Will Levis that created by a defense that was called up from being a blitz, which we struggled to call up in the first half. But I think when it came down to it, I was more concerned and coming away from this game. I was more concerned with the game plan from both sides because the first half was just weird. The defense was doing their thing for the most part, but there was times where I felt like we wasn't aggressive enough and we wasn't calling enough blitz, and we did that in the second half. So I'm glad to see that adjustment, but it's times in the game where I don't think it's times when we need to adjust all the time. We should already know. And on the offensive side, I think Shane Waldron just called a very uncharacteristic game, and he didn't call a game that I would necessarily want to call for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got
yeah,
two touchdowns from defense and special teams with Jonathan Owens with the scoop and score, and then we had the pick six for Tyreek.
yeah.
But other than that, the defense looked the way they're supposed to look. We did have Velus Jones Jr. fumbled the doggone ball on his one kickoff return opportunity, and that kind of changed the complexion of the game in the first half. But the Bears were able to bounce back, get 3 points before halftime, and then come out in the second half and pretty much dominate defensively, but not offensively. Now, on the offensive side, Steve-O, we had Caleb Williams, 14 for 29, 93 yards, only a 3.2 average. He got sacked twice. One of those sacks was bananas. He lost about 20 yards in that situation. And the running game was non-existent for the Chicago Bears. So there's a lot of work to do, and mainly because of the offensive line. As usual, the center position is still in flux. Not too
Shelton
much.
sucks.
Say that
Shelton
again.
sucks.
Yeah, Shelton was
Shelton
just
sucks.
awful, just awful from Shelton. Like he was getting just juked, pushed, all types of stuff. And there was a
It was
point
too
where
many
he
times he was on his ass. It was
and
too
there was
many
a
times.
point where he was actually he went to triple team a person that was being double team and let Caleb get blew up in a situation where he could have thrown a touchdown pass. So not all of it was on not all of it was
Okay.
on Caleb Williams, but and not all of it was on Shane either. But all of them have to take responsibility for how the offense
Yeah.
looked yesterday.
Yeah, there was passes out there that for a historically accurate quarterback from what we've seen from Caleb was very uncharacteristic as well. There was passes out there that we've seen him make numerous of times, and he was just throwing it in the dirt, throwing it 7 miles away, like it was just uncharacteristic. So yeah, like he didn't have his best game. I also feel like we didn't establish run with Shane Rogen, and then there was just a lot of times we was in empty sets and third down that it's not a good idea. It's not a good time to
Yeah.
put us in empty sets with a rookie quarterback.
Oh yeah, so this is we all said all of us here from Shot Town Sports, from me to you to Hayes to C Dub to Bobby, that it's going to be a learning process, especially for the offense. They're still getting to know each other. There's a lot of moving parts, and then we also have to understand that Caleb Williams is a rookie. But Mister, I don't get nervous. Did look nervous yesterday, especially
He
on
was
some of those
nervous than
balls.
something. He was
Yeah,
nervous as hell, bro. It's okay to be nervous, but you
yeah,
you
nothing
you
wrong
can't
with that.
sit there and say you wasn't though.
Yeah, he was obviously nervous. Some of those throws he made were just unbelievably overthrown or underthrown or thrown into the dirt, and those things are going to come in. And
Yep.
we kind of knew that the defense was going to have to carry this team for at least the first 4 to 5 games of the season. But eventually, I think the offense will get it together as well, man. So there you guys have it on the Bears content. They took care of business, man. They got the win, and that's all
Yep.
that really matters. Because by week 17, nobody's going to be talking about but what happened in week 1, unless it's just a
Yeah,
continuous thing that happens.
big week next week. So they're going to get together. It's a big game next week, so prime time. So they're going to have to get it together fast.
Sunday Night Football in Houston versus the Houston Texans, last year's number 2 overall pick. Mate took his team to CJ Stroud took this team to the playoffs. They're definitely going to be ready for the Chicago Bears. The Bears have to be ready also, and of course, Chicago Bears Central will be doing a joint watch party with DraftKings. So the whole gang is going to be involved. Hayes, to C Dub, to Bobby, myself, and Steve O. We will be in attendance for Sunday night. Y'all come kick it with the gang. All right, moving on to the Chicago Sky, bro. They have weathered the storm. Now that Kennedy Carter is back, and they've gone ahead and won the last 2 games. They moved up a little bit in the rankings, the power rankings, and as far as their playoff positioning is concerned, they now have a lead on Atlanta. They're not just tied with the Atlanta Dream, but they have a half game lead over these young ladies. Everybody's clinched the playoffs except for the Chicago Sky. The Mystics and the Dream are still in the mix. In the Chicago Sky, of course, they lost Angel Reese for the rest of the season. But yesterday's game, Steve-O, was a pretty good one, man. Lizzie went out there and took care of business. Of course, Kennedy Carter took care of business, and the bench showed up. How you feeling about the Chicago Sky?
Um, can't the last game caught me off guard. Can't even say it. Like, we came in saying like how we was gonna have to have a big night from the bench, and we got it. I think they got 23 points coming off from the bench. We had Izzy almost get a double double, having 21 points, 9 rebounds, I think like 4 assists. Um, Probably one of Kennedy's best passing games, as well as giving us almost 30 points. Michaela doing her dirty work, as well as some solid minutes on defense from Bree Turner as well. So as a unit, Dana came in, gave us 11 points, 3 for 4. They played as a team, and like we know, there's times where they can be, and it's crazy. Like with, like you said, we came in like we weathered a storm, even though we're in the midst of another one, but this team just continued to show that they got some fight left. And with Atlanta just showing that they can't close games and they're dropping 20-point leads and against certain teams, like it proves that like we might hobble our way into the playoffs, especially with the next game being the Mystics, and a couple games after that we got to play Atlanta and then Connecticut and stuff like that. So it could come down to that game in a couple weeks against Atlanta. So how I feel about it, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just kind of letting it sit back, seeing what happens. Anything can happen in this league, but yeah, I'm just sitting back to see what happens. I'm kind of surprised that we had a game like we did last night, so we just gonna see if they can continue to do so.
Yeah, it was the first wire to wire victory for this squad all season long, and it was much needed after that long losing streak. After the All-Star break, they came in with an opportunity to move up the standings, and they just didn't because they lost too many players they needed to win. A couple of games that they could have won down the stretch with just poor coaching, poor execution. So, hey, taking care of business. They got two blowout victories in a row, 92-78 over the Sparks, 92-77 over the Wings, and they can beat the Mystics, but we do know that the Mystics are capable of defeating this team because they have done it. Then you got the Lynx, Mercury, the Atlanta
Yep,
Dream,
beat
which
us
is going to
last
be
time.
and the Dream is going to be the game of the season. Obviously, the game before the end of the season, and they got three road games left too, Steve-O. Out of their
Yep,
last five games, three of them on the road. But the Chicago Sky are actually a better team on the road than they are at home. Uh, but
surprisingly.
but hey, if they win three out of these next five games, they should be a lock for the playoffs, and it's going to be good to see playoff basketball, regardless of what their record is.
Facts. But yeah, like Kennedy playing all her ass. Michaela's having a career year. Camilla is constantly getting better. So yeah, like it's still fun to watch to see them. It's good to see this team still progress despite of everything that's going on. Like yeah, like it's like every team that's dealt with injury and stuff early we're getting it now, which is kind of the worst time. But it is what it is. We ain't complaining about it. We weathering a storm, and hey, we gonna see what the end gonna be. Sound like a pass then.
Right, right. All right, so moving on from there, we're gonna go to the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs have still a small chance of making the playoffs, but they've lost four out of their last six. They've lost the last two series. The Pittsburgh Pirates took two out of three, and then the Yankees took two out of three from them. And now they have LA. They're going to LA, and we know that the LA Dodgers are a really good team. They still have some stuff to play for as well. Cubs cannot afford to lose these games versus the Dodgers. The Dodgers, they're pretty comfortably in the lead in the NL West, so not as big of a situation as when the Yankees were still fighting for positioning in their division. But the Cubs are sitting at 73 and 70, and unfortunately for them, I believe that puts them 5 games out of the wild card now. Let me see, 5 or 6 games out of the wild card spot, and they gotta pretty much win every single game going forward. Now they do have a stretch where they do play some bad teams, the Washington Nationals, the Colorado Rockies as well. They do have an opportunity. It's a 10-game stretch, Steve-O, where they can beat those guys. They could go on a 10-game winning streak to end the season pretty much, but that's going to be asking a lot for a team that hasn't really been consistent all year.
And I was just about to say, like, that's the very thing. Can they be consistent in that? And the proof is shown that they can't. And I don't know. I feel like other teams around them are kind of catching a little bit of stride of getting ready for the playoffs. So, like, it's gonna be tough. Like, I don't know. Like you said, in baseball, we've seen crazy things. We've seen teams get hot in random spots. So it's definitely possible. But that bullpen gonna have to be disciplined. Y'all gonna have to hit. Y'all gonna have to hit. And y'all been hitting, but I think that bullpen gonna be way better than what it's been for them to continue to be more
Well, the
consistent in
bullpen
order to
The bullpen has actually been pretty solid, Steve-O, since about June. They did have some hiccups, especially against in that Pittsburgh
that's
series,
what
but the
consistent. Yeah,
but the real problem is hitting. They've been shut out in three of the last five games, which is not a good thing.
nah.
It's just one of those things. They're gonna have to figure it out. They're gonna have to take care of business because if they want to make the playoffs, they got to go on another stretch where I think they want a 6 game winning streak recently, but they got to go on a stretch where they win every series, whether it's 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, or sweep every series, especially going forward. And it's not going to be easy against the Dodgers. And they got injuries. Justin Steele is out. Who knows when he's going to be coming back, but he's out. And you got to rely on Kyle Hendricks as a starter, which is not a good thing. But when they go on the road against Colorado, they can beat them. They can beat Oakland. They can beat Washington. Then they got to play Philly and Cincinnati to close out the season. So this series versus the Dodgers, they got to take 2 out of 3. They got to sweep Colorado, sweep Oakland, and sweep the 4 games versus Washington if they want to have a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and like I said, that's gonna be tough. But let's see if they can do it. I don't give a damn two ways or not because I don't give a damn about this team. But if they can do it, they can do it. If they can't, whoopee.
And you got the Chicago White Sox just still just terrible, man. Like just to touch on them
I
real
don't want to talk
briefly.
about
These Mogs, they
it.
just I think they're 33 and 100 and something. Let me see real quick. It's bad for the White Sox. The Chicago White Sox are 33 and 111. But they did win last night, but it is what it is. They're in bad shape. They got to get their life together next season. They got to get it together. So moving on to the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls. Hey, they're looking to make some moves. A lot of people are writing them off this offseason basically because they traded not Lamar Odom, DeMar DeRozan, and they
Lamar
also
Odom is crazy.
right? They traded DeMar DeRozan, and then they also they're bringing back Zach LaVine. Vucevic is still on this team. Lonzo Ball is trying his best to make it back to this team because he's in the contract year. He wants to play to try to see if he can prove stay on this team or go to another team. But they made a couple of surprising moves. They picked up EJ Liddell. They picked up Taylor Horton Tucker. A couple of weeks ago, they picked up Kenny Lofton Jr. And that means that a couple of these roster spots who people probably felt a little comfortable back in June and July, now they're kind of looking like, oh, maybe we got to work a little bit harder to maintain our spots.
For real, because like I think we all can sit here and say the bench wasn't good, and especially in particular moments where the starting lineup was getting it going. Like we have our problems with Javon Carter. We have our, I mean, even with the, and don't get me wrong, it was riddle injuries with Torrey Craig, so he dealt with a lot of injuries. I forget what the injury was, but he spent a nice amount of time. I think it was a wrist injury or something like that. But even with him playing, like the production was not there from what we was getting. So I think bringing somebody like a Kenny Lofton or somebody like a Taylor or somebody even like a EJ Liddell, that's threats to players with vitamins like a what's the young guy that we just from Tennessee that just got hurt
Oh, can't think of his name. Hold
the
on.
kid the young dude, but him like yeah, but
I'll pull it up in a second.
him like your job is just not safe, and the big production is just not being good enough. So even with us knowing that this is going to be a team that's going to be super young, inexperienced, and we're not expecting that
Julian
much
Phillips.
from it. Julian Phillips, yeah. But even though we're not expecting that much from this team, at the end of the day, with these quality players that we are bring quality role players, I should say, that we're bringing over here, I still feel like there'll be times where we'll win some games where we least expect it because we just have a this is, I think there's gonna be a pretty solid team, and it's pretty well rounded. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of guards and wings that we have now, but I think it should be an interesting watch.
Oh yeah, this team is going to be fun bad. We've talked about it before. They could be a team that's surprising peoples and start off stronger than we anticipate, and it'll change how this front office looks at moving forward. That's the last thing I want. Like I don't want them to get comfortable again and say, "See, it's working. We finally got the pieces back. Lonzo Ball is back, and Zach LaVine is healthy." And no, keep going with the youth movement, guys. Like even if Zach LaVine plays out of his mind, then get some assets for him. Even if Vucevic gets to 18-10 mode to start the season and he's healthy, keep on moving, keep it moving, stick with the plan to get rid of these guys and move forward. But I do think Zach LaVine is going to be better than people think he's going to be.
Yeah, and he's gonna get a lot of burn. He's gonna have the ultimate green light, and we gonna see what he does with it. Like at some point, at one point, we did feel like he could take that next step to become one of those players, one of those guards that's of the ilk of Devin uh, Booker and the ilks of the top guards in the league, Anthony Edwards of that ilk, but injuries are starting to get back in the way of it. And we all know that his IQ isn't the best when it comes to the garbage situation, as well as just I feel like with the injuries, his lack of getting to the rim has kind of slowed down as well because we've seen in that game, as well as knowing what the construct of the team was with Vooch and DeMar. That it was a little bit difficult because they crowded the space that he liked to operate in. But he didn't shoot the best and that we normally known for him to be, and he wasn't attacking as much. So yeah, I'm expecting him to be more of his old self, and we're gonna see what he's gonna do because he's gonna have the ultimate green light.
Oh yeah, we're a little bit um over a month away from the start of the regular season, October 23rd versus the New Orleans Pelicans. EJ Liddell, a former New Orleans Pelican player. How do you feeling about the Bulls signing this young man, bringing him over to the squad?
I mean, I think it's somebody we. I think not only did Bulls fans have their eye on since he's been drafted, but
At Ohio
they've had
State.
their yeah at Ohio State. But the Bulls had their eye on because he was in a lot of the mocks as somebody we was considered drafting. I think we did work him out in the draft process as well. So um with everything going on with him in New Orleans, he did come back from an ACL injury. He has gave some quality games, quality minutes, and I think they felt like I said, what they was getting from like a Torrey Craig, a Julia Phillips, and a Javon Carter just wasn't enough. So why not bring some competition along and some depth piece who you have a long experience of tape on?
Yeah, I mean he was been traded a couple of times this season. He was traded from New Orleans to Atlanta, then Atlanta to Phoenix, and now he's on the Chicago Bulls. He was a second round pick, but he missed the entire 2022, 23 season. But he did get some burn a little bit, and then he played really well in the G League, 17.7 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game for Birmingham Squadron. So that's not bad, honestly.
Not bad at all.
It's not bad at all. So
Little Javon fucking Carter.
listen, and then he also shoots. Well, in college, he shot 48% from the field, 35% from three, and averaged about 20 points. So he's a second round pick. It was worth taking a flyer on him. He knows we know he can put the ball in the basket. Those of us who watch Big Ten basketball, and we know that we don't want to see too much Javon Carter next season unless he figured out how to get out of his own way and play his role the right way. Because there was a
No
lot of pump
doubt.
fakes and a lot of missing easy shots and just taking just poor IQ from Leroy. So there you have it, man. We've touched on pretty much
It's
every
the
team.
Leroy, bro. It's the Leroy, bro. It kills me every time, bro. I see why you go by Javon. I ain't gonna lie.
So yeah, man. Jam, not Jam. Look at my shirt, but the Sky and the Cubs are still fighting for playoffs. The Chicago Bears season finally in full swing, and the Chicago Bulls training camp is on the horizon. We appreciate you guys for rocking with Chi-Town Sports Central. It's your boy Big Bro, and we got Steve-O in the building. We're gonna see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.